Hello, my name is Russell Myers, independent for U.S. President for 2024. On Friday, December the 8th, 2023, there was a resolution that was created by the United Arab Emirates, and the UAE went around and gathered signatures from over 100 countries to co-sponsor this bill, this resolution, to be presented to the UN Security Council, calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. When it reached the UN Security Council, of the 15 members, the UK abstained from voting. 13 members voted in favor of the resolution, and the United States vetoed that resolution. To date, an estimated more than 17,000 Palestinians, Gazans, have been killed from the Israeli assault on Gaza. Over 2 million people have been displaced. Over 46,000 have been injured. Of the 17,000 killed and the 46,000 injured, over 70% of those people have been women, children, and elderly. So the efforts of Israel have been openly stated that they wish to displace the Gazans to the Sinai region of Egypt. Well, Egypt is a poor country. They cannot afford to support these people. Hell, Egypt is under U.S. sanctions, trade sanctions. So they cannot afford these people. So such an action would be sentencing literally millions of people to death by starvation. There is not the infrastructure to support them, so people would be dying of dehydration, lack of medical care, lack of housing. I mean, keep in mind that this is a desert region. How would these people survive? And then you would have massive social disruptions, riots, etc. Israel, of course, there was a temporary ceasefire in November, but even during that ceasefire, Israel did not completely honor that ceasefire. In fact, they fired on Syria. They fired on civilian locations in Egypt. They fired on Lebanon. They even fired on UN peacekeepers that were standing between Lebanon and Israel. What is the point of all this? First of all, let's talk about one thing. This is not the first time that the United States has refused to engage in any efforts toward peace. In 2001, when after 9/11, the United States stated they wanted to go after Osama bin Laden. Well, the Afghan government said, we'll give him up. The United States refused to take that offer. You can look this up. The United States refused to take that offer, instead opting to invade and remain there for 20 years. And if you look up the Afghanistan papers that were in the Washington Post, you find that there was never any goal. There was never any defined mission in Afghanistan. Never. At any point was there a defined mission in Afghanistan. If they got anywhere near it, or they found that they could not achieve a stated mission, they would change the mission, and they would have multiple mission statements going at once, which would often counteract, just oppose each other. In 2003, the United States wanted to invade Iraq. So they went to the United Nations Security Council and tried to get approval from the UNSC to invade Iraq. They did not get it. So what happened? They went and formed the Coalition of the Willing to invade Iraq based on the intelligence that Iraq, in spite of UN inspectors being on the ground, OPCW inspectors on the ground in Iraq, stating that there were no weapons of mass destruction there. And Iraq stating, you can send more inspectors. No, the United States demanded that the inspectors be pulled out so that the United States could, again, form the Coalition of the Willing to invade Iraq. And, of course, we all know that there were no weapons of mass destruction found because they weren't there. Libya. Obama wanted to bomb Libya. He went to Congress and asked for permission to bomb Libya. He did not get the permission to do this. He ordered it anyway. And now, humanitarian intervention, as they called it at the time. And now, what they got? It's a split country, with slave markets in the streets between Russia and Ukraine. Russia has stated on numerous occasions, we're open to negotiations. Of course, they've stopped saying that at this point because there's nothing that they feel they can trust from any agreement that might be reached. But the United States, even if there was any indication that peace talks could occur, will say, this administration will say, now is not the time for peace talks. When? When Russia is defeated. And that's not going to happen. Russia's not going to be defeated. We all know this. So that's where we are with that. Let's see. China. Taiwan. Taiwan, being part of China, has made it clear that they prefer a peaceful resolution to the Taiwan issue. The United States keeps on sending more and more weapons and more of our naval vessels toward the South China Sea. Anyway, all right, so back to Israel and Hamas. Yeah, on the exact same day that the United States vetoed this ceasefire proposal, on the exact same day, the United States, Biden approved a $500 million weapons shipment to Israel. Oh, and by the way, they say that that any ceasefire would just be allow Hamas to reorganize and so forth and so on, saying that that's what happened during the previous ceasefire. Never mind the fact that during the previous ceasefire, the United States was still pumping weapons into Israel. No. Okay. Oh, so Hamas will reorganize, but, we can just keep on pumping weapons into Israel to attack women and children and elderly people. What is a large part of this? Of course, Israel has been wanting, Israel says that they want to completely eliminate every member of Hamas. The head of Israeli security has stated that Israel will assassinate Hamas leaders anywhere in the world. This includes other countries where Hamas has political offices, to include Turkey and Qatar. So Hamas has got major political offices in Qatar, and Qatar has been the location where any negotiations going on between Hamas and Israel have been taking place. But Israel will send people in and openly state that they will send people into Qatar to assassinate political leaders of this group. And since when has it been acceptable for a nation's government to say that they will openly state that they will go and assassinate people in other countries? When did this become acceptable? If Hamas said this, or the Palestinian Authority said this, would this be acceptable to the United States government? If China said this, would it be acceptable? If Russia said this, would it be acceptable to the United States government? I don't think so. But but Israel says it, and the response is, oh, well, here's $500 million worth of weapons. Most of it paid for by United States taxpayers. Now, something to keep in mind is that for about 20 years we have known that there are oil and gas reserves under Gaza and under the ocean off of Gaza that is Gazan, ocean space. That's their area. But especially since the cutoff of the Nord Stream pipeline and Europe trying to find alternative sources of gas and oil, well, Israel has had their eyes on seizing the Palestinian oil fields and gas fields. Now those oil and gas fields have a value of an estimated 40-some billion dollars or more, probably much more. But 60% of the revenues from that are owned by the Palestinian Authority. The other 40% is split between Israel, Egypt, and Hamas. Yes. This is how the agreement was written out. But Israel wants to seize those resources, and they want to seize, of course, the land and completely displace millions of human beings and violate every treaty that has been ever written between Palestine and Israel. Every agreement. And the United States is backing this. The United States does not have any statement, any goal, any standard for a peace agreement between Gaza and Israel. None. There is none. If they say something one day, it changes the next. I'm opposed to all of this. I am opposed to all of this. No, I'm not in favor of Hamas per se. But millions of people do, or at least hundreds of thousands of Gazans are members of Hamas. I've stated before, it's not just a militant organization. You can call them terrorists, but it was formed by Israel. It was formed by Israel to oppose the Palestinian Authority. Basically, any political party, organization, whatever, that the Palestinians form, any of them, Israel is going to consider a terrorist organization. Most of the countries on earth think that this should result in a two-state solution. And it should. What a two-state solution would mean that there would be established borders between Israel and Palestine that have to be honored. And if either side violates those borders militarily, then they are protected under international law. And the UN would basically have to step in. The United States could not support Israel and their illegal occupation of different areas. Of course, how much protection would this entail, considering that Israel is also illegally occupying the Golan Heights in Syria? Israel has, since this began, has bombed, airports in Syria, in Aleppo, and so forth. And what kind of protection do they have under international law? None. But a two-state solution would actually recognize Palestine as a nation, which needs to happen. The Palestine as a nation predates Israel. The creation of Israel in 1947. If you look back to the 1920s and 1910s, Palestine was already there. It was the state of Palestine. From the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s up until 1947, and then all of a sudden it started. And even after that, for the most part, it was considered Palestine, with Israel being basically an encampment. Why? Why? Just tell me why. There's no why. Except for money. Except for wanting to destabilize the Middle East. As it is, more and more of the Middle Eastern countries around the world, are breaking ties with Israel. One UN official, a high-ranking official on human rights, resigned his position, calling what Israel is doing genocide. And it is genocide. When you're killing that many people and displacing them from their homes and move them. Oh, well, you got to move north. No, you got to move south. No, you got to move into Egypt. And Egypt says no. And Israel is insisting. You don't get to state whether Egypt is going to accept all these millions of people, which will completely destabilize your entire society, your entire economy. Everything about it. You don't get to make that choice. You're throwing these people out of their homes, and at the end of a gun. So a two-state solution is really the only thing that is going to solve this. And an arms embargo against Israel until they come to a peace agreement. That is the only thing that is going to stop this. We should not be giving Israel $4 billion a year. Their debt to GDP is lower than ours. It's like they've got universal health care for all of their people. We don't. How many Israelis do you think are homeless? And look at our streets. Look at what's happening. But we're giving them money. But we'll let our own people go hungry, go homeless, go without medical care, let tens of thousands of Americans die because they can't afford medical care every year, but we'll pay for their universal health care. Who's making money off this? Military-industrial complex, oil companies, politicians with massive donations from AIPAC. This is unacceptable. All right, so if you want somebody that is going to support peace, support the American people, share this video. Talk about these subjects. Vote for me. Help me. This remains a grassroots campaign, and I need your help in any way you can. All right, so thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day. Again, share this. Talk about this. All right, and I will talk to you later. Thank you. Bye.